सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम हज़रत सैयदे वुल्दे आदम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to MTA USA Studios, here broadcasting live from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We have two wonderful guests here who have decades and together probably over 100 years of experience in the Ahmadiyya Muslim community USA. We have Bilal Salam Sahib and Abdul Rakib Wali Sahib here as well. Assalamu alaikum, brothers.
Wa alaikum salam.
Now, this is the 68th annual Jalsa Salana for America. Do you remember the first Jalsa you attended here in America?
Well, I know he was here before me, so I know he
The
attended
first Jalsa I attended was in Dayton, Ohio. I became an Ahmadiyya in 1957. At that time, we had our conventions in different cities. We did not have it in one place. So I think my first one was maybe in Dayton, Ohio.
What year was that?
Dayton, Ohio was 1959 or 1960.
So we're about in our 10th year, perhaps, 10th year of Jalsa.
Yeah, right.
What was that like? How many people was the?
Well, most of the people were Afro-Americans. I think we had maybe 2 or 3 Pakistanis. Our Jalsa consisted of about we had about 150 to 200 people.
Wow.
And most, as I say, were Afro-Americans. Because at that time, you know, they had called it Oriental Act, where Pakistanis were not allowed in the country.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And Bilal Salam Sahib, do you remember your first Jalsa USA?
Yeah, my first Jalsa, I came into the movement in the 60s, early 60s, and my first Jalsa was in 63. That was held in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And that was the first time I ever saw a convention of this caliber, you know, because it was amazing, it was spiritually uplifting. It made me a little bit more confirmed in my beliefs and what I was getting myself into. And it just carried me on, you know, in every step that I was taking in doing this and going to these conventions, you know, it just uplifted me every year. Every year I get a new foundation. And I got my biggest foundation when I went to Rabwa.
Oh, tell us a little bit about Rabwa.
Well, Rabwa was the time when we went there. The third Khalifa was living at the time. And I went to Rabwa and I was on cloud 9, you know, because I saw this place, and then when I saw the Khalifa, it was just amazing, you know. Because before we got there, we used to always say, well, we're going to ask him this, we're going to ask him that, we're going to ask him this. But when we all got in the room with him, we couldn't open our mouths. All we did was sit there, look at him, and cry, you know, because I saw that light that he shared with everybody when he walks into a room, you know, and that's what really strengthened me more into understanding Islam and Ahmadiyya, you know. So those conventions overseas was really uplifting to me.
I was with the first delegation to Pakistan, and it was 13 of us, and we were the first delegation from the U.S. to go to Jalsa in Rabwa. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, again, you know, the first time we have to remember we were not organized as we are now.
Right.
We had no Qadam, we had no Ijtima, we had no organization at all. I think we had maybe about 3 missionaries in the entire country. You know, our budget was about $10,000, you know, across the country. You know, so we just organized among ourselves. We had our own program, we had our own objective, and it was totally different. It was totally different. So when we went to Rabwa, many of us was the first time we have ever seen the Khalifa or even heard his voice. Many of our members, one of our members became an Ahmadiyya in 1948.
Okay.
Imagine, he had never heard the Khalifa, never heard his voice since 1948. We went in 1973.
Wow, that's incredible.
amazing.
To have
It
this
was
faith.
incredible.
Wow.
It was incredible to see the Khalifa to Masih. You know, we see people just lined up, and he was giving everybody assalamu alaikum, and shaking everybody's hands. And at that time, you know, at the Jalsa, there was no microphone. You know, so we had an interpreter. He would sit with us, and the Khalifa to Masih would talk for about 10 minutes. And we asked, what did he say? He said, oh, we're having a good jalsa. so we said we're going to get rid of this interpreter, right, translator rather. And so we had our next translator was Maulvi Wahab Adam. He was just a new missionary at that time. And so he came in and he translated for us. And he did a better job. Yeah.
Now,
Well, we had the same problem,
Yeah.
you know, but Manawal Saeed was the one that came and did translation for us, you know, and because he was, the one thing he was saying, which was amazing, when the Khalifa was talking, and he was explaining to the peoples in the audience and the non-Ahmadis who was there, the police who was all over the place. And he was telling them, you know, that look at these peoples here. They come from all over the world. And we didn't know what he was saying, but Manawal Saeed was translating perfectly to us what he was saying. And he said, these are the peoples you can't destroy. You know, and so it was amazing when we were sitting there and listening to that. And I hear that voice every now and then saying that, because we was there on those bad times.
Yeah, I have something to say about the humor of our third Khalifa. I remember, you know, we had one brother, he used to sit close to the Khalifa like this, you know, and Khalifa to Masih III said, brother, I want to tell you one thing. He said, you know, in our religion, it is against Islam to eat the flesh of your brother. So everybody just cracked up because, you know, we had a great opportunity to have a personal connection with the Khalifa as we don't have now. That's so much.
you know, I really want to thank you for sharing that experience because
Yeah.
my generation, we never knew the third Khalifa.
Right.
We grew up with the fourth Khalifa, and now we have a younger generation that's growing up with the
The
fifth
fifth Khalifa, yeah.
Right.
So you were able to have a connection with, I'm assuming, with all the Khulafa since the third Khalifa. What advice do you have for our generations now to keep
The
that
Khalifa to Masih III, may God bless him, said to me as I was looking at him, all I could see was his eyes and his lips. And he was holding my hand. And he said one thing. He said, I want to tell you one thing that I said to everybody that I meet. May God give you light. That was the last thing he said to me. And that was in 1973. I'm still here. MashaAllah.
That was those meeting him was really a amazing thing spiritually for me. You know, I was so much into the Khalifa, you know, till that I just forgot where I was at. You know, and a couple of the brothers had to remind me. But when I found out where I was at was when we was getting ready to leave, and we went to we came in Lahore, but we went to the capital. I think that was the capital of Pakistan. You know, and then I realized where I was at, because that city looked just like New York. And I said, well, I'm back down to ground one again. You know, but it was a wonderful experience. That's what really clinched me to really get close to the Khalifa. Listen to him. Gotta listen to him. Whatever he tells you to do, whether you like it or not, do it. You know, because he's directed by God. He doesn't tell us to do anything that's against our will, against the religion of Islam. So whatever he's telling you, you know, just do it. That's what to the young people today. You know, always listen to your leaders and follow the instructions.
Is there now we have Bilal Saab, you're coming from Philadelphia, and I
Yes.
understand that there's a new mosque being built from the ground up. How's that going?
Alhamdulillah. This is a prayer that I've been saying for the longest, because this is where Mufti came in at.
That's right, 1920.
1920. And I prayed to Allah to let us be the first to build a mosque in this city. You know, in all of these years I've been saying that prayer, you know, every Muslim in the city tried to build a mosque and they couldn't. But then it came our turn. And so we bought this land. You know, we didn't pay too much for the land, because the land been sitting there for years, nobody wanted it, so we took the land. And by the grace of God, we broke ground, and this would be the first mosque in Philadelphia that built from the ground up. And right now we are 85% finished.
Wow, so we're looking at this year, within the next year or so?
We was hoping this year, but I think it's going to be next year when we finish the
So inshallah, though, this mosque will be
Inshallah.
fully underway before the centenary hits.
Yes, inshallah.
Wow,
inshallah.
this is what a time to be alive. What a time to
And
be
I'm
alive.
just hoping I'm still alive to see it.
Inshallah.
Because I'm following my brother's footsteps, you know, and I'm pushing him, and he's pushing me. So
And it gives you a reason to continue wanting to be alive.
right.
It's very important.
That's right.
Now, a lot of yesterday we spoke with Imam Shamshad Nasser and also Naim Amir Sahib, and we spoke about keeping the relationship with Hazur. You know,
That's
listening
important.
to the
It's very
khutbah,
important.
writing letters. What have you done as well throughout your lives that have helped you secure a connection with Hazur?
The relation with
With the
Hazur,
Khalifa.
The Khalifa.
Well, you know, I like to say that, you know, I have retired from the prison system after 23 years,
He worked
And,
there, you know, he wasn't in prison.
and I was a chaplain.
Important.
I was the only Ahmadi paid chaplain in the world,
Wow.
according to Mawvi Asher Hanif.
Yeah, you were.
And what we used to do every Friday, you know, our khutbah would be the khutbah of Khalifa to Masih. And so what I did over the years, you know, we used to have each inmate to sign the book, you know, that they had come to our meeting. And I had my clerk to count all of the names, you know, in the book from 1991, when I began, till last year, and we counted over 90,000 names. So we're talking about over 90,000 people, at least, maybe more or less, have heard about Ahmadiyya or heard about our community.
Now, of these 90,000 people, I mean, a lot of people have a negative image of prisoners, of inmates. But sometimes as people are victims of circumstance. What was your relationship with these prisoners like? What did you experience?
Well, you see, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam said one thing in his book. You know, you have two kinds of people. You have those people who are righteous, and you have those people who are flexible. And the second thing he said was, you know, our holy book begins with Alif Lam Mim. I am Allah, the All-Knowing. So Allah already knows. Number two, when I went to Khalifa to Masih IV, may God bless him, and asked for his prayers when I tried to get into the prison, he said I would pray. This was in 1987. He said I would pray. He said, but I tell you one thing, you will not get many people. In 1991, I got my job, and after 23 years, I think out of 23 years, I got maybe 10 people to really, I got about 50 people to sign to buy it. but only 10 people are still active in the community, unfortunately. It is very difficult. The difficulty is that as a chaplain, I'm not able to continue my conversation with them. You understand? This was the big problem. And so once they hit the street, you know, it was finished. Ahmadiyya is not easy. Ahmadiyya is very difficult. It's not like Christianity. Christianity, you say, I believe Jesus died for me, that's it. You are 100% Christian. But in Ahmadiyya, you have to live Ahmadiyyat. And it's the jihad bin nafs. It's that spirit within. And when God sees that spirit in you, and it's true, He guides you to the truth. This is Ahmadiyyat. So it takes time. You can't become an Ahmadiyya in a day, a month, or a week, or 2 years. You know, 50 years, I'm still struggling.
That's right. You know, Islam took 23 years to be revealed. It wasn't an overnight thing. That's right.
But my experience in the prison, I started the prison ministry in Pennsylvania, going through the Pennsylvania prison. At the first, they would never let anybody in, especially Muslims, to do any kind of. And the only way I got in, I had to get letters from the inmates. And some of the inmates in there had read our literature. And so they began to write letters and send letters out. And I took it to the commissioner of prison, which is in Camp Hill in Pennsylvania. And I related to him that these people want us to come in and teach Islam. So he said, what is Islam? So I sat there and I talked to him for maybe about 2.5 hours. I explained to him what Islam was, and I gave him a copy of the Quran, which was the Quran. I had my own Quran, so I just gave that one to him. And so he allowed me to go into the prisons. Just like this brother here, they wanted to make me a prison chaplain, but I didn't want the job, you know, because I had found out that whatever they tell me to do, I have to do it, you know, and if it was against my religion, I had to do it. So I said, no. I said, just give me a stipend, just pay me traveling to come up, and I come up. And that's where it went for me here in the state of Pennsylvania. And just like what he said, that the Khalifa explained to him, that you won't get too many members, the same thing here in Pennsylvania. Out of 300 some people that I talked to in prisons here, I think it was about only 3. Only one brother right now is still with us, you know, and that's Muhammad from Harrisburg. He's still with us. I talked to him way back in the day when I first started going into prison. He stayed with us. Another brother who passed on, he stayed with us for a while, and then he was in and out. And every time they got sick, they would come and see us because they know they wanted to be buried, even though they wasn't participating, but they wanted to be buried as an Ahmadi. And like he said, it's hard. You know, I've been here over 50 years. And so, you know, you have to go through these struggles if you want to get that blessings from God. And so this is part of my story.
You know, and these are excellent memories that you have shared with us, Jazakallah Sahab and Abdul Rakib Sahab. We look forward to always hearing your stories and sharing your memories with us so that we can carry them forward, inshallah, as well. This is the MTI USA studios. We're going to show you some new content at this point, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.